what we're looking at is the quarter panel on our Camaro. This is the quarter panel I replaced. But to keep the factory latch design and to make sure that the door shuts properly, I didn't replace this section of that quarter panel. What I did is I cut it off right here. So I eliminated replacing this, and I cut it off right here, and I welded down all the way down and replaced that, okay? We ran into a situation on this quarter panel. On the bottom of the quarter panel, the wheel well opening was too big in this area right here. Can you even see what's going on here? What is going on? Can we see the... Okay, we can see the car. I had to flip my screen around so I can make sure that, you know, when you're the editor, the producer, the star, the director, and everything else, you got to make sure everything's in focus.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So anyway, back to the quarter panel, because we're on the left side of the car now. We got the right side done. You saw that. It came out awesome. And we're starting on this quarter panel because this is the worst damage on that side. And when I say that, the only reason is because I got to clean all these edges up. But so when I put this quarter panel on, the bottom of it was way out here. So it rode really good in here, but when we got to this section here, it kind of opened up, and there was about that much, okay, that was out of whack. So what I had to do is I had to cut, okay, do you see what I'm doing here? I had to cut this section out because I didn't go all the way down here when I replaced that quarter panel either. And the reason I didn't go all the way down here, I just went across here. That's why you can see where it's grinded out here. The reason I didn't go down here, because I wanted to keep that factory body line. It wasn't rotted out, it wasn't rusted, so I went ahead and I spliced the quarter panel in here, and then I came up here. So we went ahead and kept all this section here, and then in turn, we went ahead and kept the lower section of this quarter panel, which is very crucial on these type of muscle cars. If I was to replace this quarter panel, I would have had to gut the interior out before I did anything so I could get access inside to spot weld this back in place, and then we would have had to precisely make sure that this body line was here. That's the first thing that people look at when they go to purchase one of these cars or to see how accurate it was restored, is they find these body lines and they make sure that these are factory set, factory OEM original style body lines. So we're going to go ahead and try this again. Hopefully the welder will work. Like I said, I got to replace this liner. That's not a fun job, but it's got to be done. I've been stalling out on it for several years, and I think it's come down to where I got to. Let me go ahead and see if I can weld this up and get this all filled in. All right. Okay. Everybody's heard of this brand block right here, DuraBlock. Everybody's heard it. Everybody thinks it's the best thing in the world. You know, you got to get yourself a set of DuraBlocks. Yes and no. DuraBlocks are awesome. I have 2 sets of them, and I also got the big, I think it's 3-footer, the big 3-foot job for long panels. I love DuraBlocks. But when you're working on something as precise as this, and this is a square body line right here, and one more thing before we go anywhere, this is a 1967 Camaro, so we're going to go down the car here in a minute, and it has a definite body line that sticks out from the car. So this is a common car from back in the days when it would get door dings in parking lots. People would open their door and the first thing it would hit is this body line right here. So this car has got dings all the way down the side of it on that particular line. And I have found out that by using the DuraBlock, all right, it's a soft, I don't know if you can see me pushing in on that, but this doesn't really give you a solid 100% sand job like you think. And that's because this is a hard, flexible rubber. And even though you can't see it, I don't know if you can see that flexing. Even though you can't see it, and if you have one of these, you can't really feel it. Believe me, this block is flexing. Even the most micro flex in a straight sanding block can really screw up your bodywork and put waves in it. So if you, let's say, blocked a car out and then you painted it and you look down it and you might have used these blocks, and the bigger these blocks get, the more flexible and flimsy they get. And you say, man, that doesn't look straight, that, my friend Pete, it looks kind of ripply. And I know the bodywork's perfect on it. That's because you used high build 2K primer or whatever you did, and you use this DuraBlock as your finish block. So another block we're going to look at before we look at the two blocks that you should use on something like this is this block here. Now you can see that's a very, very flexible block. And you can also see that I got 80 grit sandpaper on it. Now this is a semi-hard, semi-soft block. This is not a very, very spongy block, but then on the other hand, it's a flex block. Now where I'm using this block, and you've already figured it out, hopefully, if you're watching and listening and learning from my friend Pete, is in this area down here. Okay? Because you can't use this block on this area. Okay, there's no way. What's going to happen is going to cut grooves in it, and this is going to be flat, and then it's going to be ugly. There's no way to do that. So in these round curvature areas, what a lot of people do is they use their hand. And if you look real close, your hand has ridges. So every time you're sanding that with your hand is cutting ridges into it. So what you want to use on a round surface such as this is a block like this. I don't know if anybody out there has ever seen one of these. This is an old school, and I've had this thing for 40 years. This is an old school hard rubber, and you can see how old it is. All right, it's got the little grooves with the nails. Let me see if it's even got the nails. I bet you it still has the nails in them. Yeah, if you look inside there, I don't know if you can see the nails inside it. Okay, this is an old school professional hand block. It's very heavy. It weighs approximately 1.5 pounds. It's the same size as this block, or maybe a little bit smaller, but it's in that range. And it's a very, very solid, flat surface. This block will not flex, okay? But one more thing, this is rubber, all right? So if you're going to get a razor sharp edge, you can start out with this block, but you're not going to finish with this block. We already know what we're using this one for. This one here, we don't want to use. But this one, we want to take this one, all right? And what we're going to do, and if you look real close here, you can see where I already roughed it up with 36 grit just to bust the top coat on it. And you can kind of see right in this area here where it's a little darker. That's where our ding was, right in that area, and there was another one there was one down here and there was one up here. So what we're going to do to start this is we are going to take our hard, solid rubber block. These have been around for years, before stick-on paper was made. I remember I told you that. And we're not going to push real hard because you don't have to with this block. You're just going to lightly sand that. And I'm not putting any weight on it. The only weight that I'm using is the block itself. Like I said, this thing weighs about 1.5 pounds, all right? And you can see just that right there. Okay, look at that. It's already cleaned that edge up. Okay? Now I'm going to come down here, because see, you see what I'm saying here? This is one line, and then this is another line. And then I'm going to repeat my process. And once again, I'm not pushing on it. The weight of the block is doing all the sanding. Okay? Now you saw how quick that was. We did it like that quick. This is real-time action here. To finish that out, I'm going to show you my favorite sanding block for sharp edge body lines, and actually for feathering out. Okay, I want to feather these edges out. I can feel it's still a little high right here. For feathering out the edges of our worked area, and also repairing these sharp edges. I'm going to show you what I got here, and you're not going to believe it. What we got is a paint stick. Okay, this is a common paint stick that's been cut in half. And what I've done is I have taken my 80 grit stick-on paper and I have folded it over. Now, I left this on here because I can use that for a handle. Do you see what I'm talking about? And then I can sand like this, and that gives me leverage to hold on to it so I don't drop it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this paint stick and I am going to clean this up, and it's going to be razor sharp. It's going to be perfect the first time, and we won't have to come back. The only thing we'll have to do is put some 2K high build filler primer on it, and we're done with it. And when I come back, after the primer's already applied, when I come back to block sand the primer, I'm going to use a paint stick to do all my edges. So I'm going to take my paint stick, you see how I'm holding that, nice little handle, nice action, and I'm going to block sand this body line and make it razor sharp. Do you see right there? Are you watching? Look at that. And there was also a small dent right in this area here. But I took care of all them dings. They're fixed. We got minimal body filler on there. And while I'm at it, just to make sure that this doesn't have a high spot around it, I'll go ahead and take my my paint stick sanding block, and I'm going to go ahead and hit that as well. And now, if you look around there, you can see how the edge of that has ghosted itself and feathered out nicely. So what we're looking at right here, this is the door. Believe it or not, this is a 67 Camaro, one owner Camaro, and this is the only damage on this door. This is it. It's very, very rare and unusual. But what I'm going to do, and this is also going to help me, if I missed anything, it's going to help me find what I missed. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now, before I go any further, I want to let you know this is only one coat of filler on these. That's it. I put one coat of filler on that. That's all. But I wanted to show you this. You can see this is 36 grit on my Durablock. That's where I start. And then, once I get that top coat off, that glaze coat you call it, then I come back with my 80 grit on my hard rubber block, okay? And then, that's when I take this area right here, and I'm going to start the process of sharpening these lines up, and also at the same time, I'm going to look for imperfections that I possibly missed. And if you watch close, you can see how quick this is going. Once again, I'm not pushing on the block. I'm not forcing it to sand. All I'm using is the weight of the block itself. Boy, we got us a mess over here. That's what we got. Before we go any further though, I want to finish up what I started, so that's out of the way. So I'm going to take my paint stick, remember that? And I'm going to go ahead and repeat my process. Okay, looky there, we're done. These dings are finished, but guess what happened? from using our hard block, our heavy block, we found a situation that we need to take care of. Look what I just found right here, guys. See that black? Can you see that black dot right there? Let's go down the line here. Okay, hold on. Here's another one. See the black dot? Let's keep on going. Look what I got. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4. There's 5, 6. There's 7. And this edge looks a little funky. So we got 7 little imperfections in this area that are door dings. We got one right here. I'm gonna block, I can feel that. Now that I've sanded, I can actually feel it. There's another one right here. And then we got one more right here. Can you imagine what it would look like if I use this block, this one that has, that's soft rubber? I wouldn't have been able to find every single little ding that I just found. Always remember, the best tools that you'll ever use in your shop are the simplest tools. All right, what we got here is we're working on our Camaro. You see it. This is the last of the body work. On the body itself, I'm starting on the trunk. Now what happened on the trunk, I had to remove all of the epoxy primer. And the reason that is because we had an issue of a reaction from the soda blasting. So what happened is I got the trunk and the hood, you can see the hood over there, I got that and the trunk soda blasted. And when I got that soda blasted, I let them sit for probably 2 or 3 months leaning up against my wall, and then I finally cleaned them with vinegar water, this, that, and the other. But I didn't get all of the soda off of the metal, and what happened is I had to basically strip all of the epoxy primer off because it was basically flaking off. And yeah, that's what happens when you're in a hurry and you don't prep the metal properly. So we got it down to bare metal. We got this body work here. We got to finish that out and then the body's done. If we walk over here, look what we got. We got all the body work done on the side of the car, guys. What you're looking at is all the body work that this side had on the car. This is a very clean car. I'm going to let you know that now. We had damage up here in the corner. You saw that. We had some rust over here, just like we had over here on this side. Same situation. So that's fixed and done. We went ahead and welded up the holes for the 6-cylinder emblem. We got the door dings fixed on the door. I think I got one left right here. I got to fix that and then that's done. Look how clean that door is. So you see how clean that door is? Look at that fender. This is the quarter panel we replaced. We went ahead and finished all the body work out on that. That's a done deal. And then of course we replaced the corner of this tail light panel section, that rear panel section, and then I'm finishing up on this. That should be the last swipe of filler. I went ahead and took a magic marker to locate my dents, because once you put it in bare metal, it's really hard to locate dents, and there's several ways that I do that, and one of them is I take a magic marker and you can kind of see the lines here, and then what happens is when you remove that, it'll show you where the dents are. There's one, there's another one right in here, and I think that is the only damage on this trunk. I believe that's the only damage. So now that I've located my damage on my trunk, and I believe it's only 2 spots here and it's very minor, what we're going to do is we're going to take our roll-a-lot grinder and then another thing is when you use your little grinder, your 36 grit grinder, you're going to see a difference in patterns and shines, and that's going to tell you where your dents are. Like I said, I did use magic marker on this to find those 2 dents, so what I'll do is I'll get a rag with some lacquer thinner off and I'll wipe that off to remove the magic marker indentions itself. Impressions, I'm sorry. Okay, whenever you use a magic marker on bare metal, always make sure to remove the residue or the impression that you left behind. Because if you don't, then what's going to happen, there's going to be a thin layer of ink between your primers and your metal, and that's going to be a vapor barrier. Alright, the weather's a little bit cold out here while we're doing this. This is actually in January. I am out in Moab, Utah. I think you know that. If you noticed, my tone of my voice is a little different lately as we are working on the Camaro, and that's because we're actually working on it. I'm at the point that I'm getting closer to getting done with it, and that's making me happy. So if I can whip this bodywork out in the next couple days, that's really going to make me happy, because it's going to be one step closer to getting the fuck out of here. And that's what's really going to make me happy. So being cold that it is, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Bondo. I'm going to make sure I got enough. You should never use Bondo under 50 degrees. If it's not 50 degrees, you shouldn't be using Bondo. And even at 50 degrees, you're really pushing it. Right now in my shop, it's 55 degrees. And that's why I'm adding this. Here's a tech tip for you. Okay? In cold winter months, use your plastic honey. Let me show you why. Alright? We got our Bondo, we got our honey. I'm going to go ahead and get my hardener. There's your hardener right there. Bam. And when we mix that up, what that honey's going to do, that's going to make that Bondo nice and creamy, like as if it was in the winter time, summertime. I actually like doing bodywork in the winter. I would rather do bodywork in the winter than in the summer. And the reason is because the Bondo dries slower, so it gives you more time to actually work with the Bondo and lay it down properly. Now, when you use your plastic honey, you want to make sure you use it properly. Don't use too much, because then it'll be too runny, and it'll actually it'll be like using polyester filler. You just want to add just enough just to get it where it's creamy, so it will flow out. And I think that's ready right there. Okay, with our Bondo mixed, I'm going to go ahead and swipe my first coat on. Here's another tech tip I want to show you. To eliminate pinholes before you put your first coat on, swirp it around like that so that the surface is kind of wet. So it's kind of wet with Bondo. Doing hoods and trunks is kind of hard, and the reason is because the sheet metal will want to move on you. And when I say move, see what I'm talking about? Okay, so try not to use a lot of pressure. Once you got that down, then all you got to do is kind of fill that baby in. And the way that I like to do it, I like to get the center of that dent filled in. Just like this. Okay, while that's drying, what we're going to do, and this is what I suggest you do, you kind of do your body work in levels. And when I say levels, what I'm saying is we're going to put some Bondo here, and then we're going to kind of let that dry. So we've let that dry. It's been about 30 or 40 minutes. But in the meantime, after this is almost semi-dry, what we want to do, we want to start on that. Because that's going to give us a, what can we say, domino effect situation where when we're done doing this, that should be dry at the time, and then we can hop on that after we refill it. So we're going back and forth, and we're doing it and not sitting our ass being lazy. I've actually had to fill this situation here, and this is the third time, and I'm hoping it's going to be toward the last. This was a very bad repair right here, guys. And the reason I say that is because you got your tail lights and you got your body lines and all this other stuff going on. And we had to make sure that this was all going to line up precisely perfect to line up with the corner over here. We also had to make sure that under the trunk here, and we're not going to open the trunk, but under the trunk, that everything in there lined up. So when you're doing a repair patch panel like this, it gets very, very testy and very, very, what can I say, frustrating. Okay, that looks really nice. I like that. Did you see what's going on there, guys? Did you watch that? I went ahead and used my DA sander first, and I used 36 grit on that. I busted the glaze off, what I'm going to do here next, and then I came back with my air file once again with 36 grit. So let me get to work. We're kind of walking through this pretty sketchy and quick. I'm showing you a few tech tips here. I'm showing you this, that, and the other. We're watching the car get restored, and we're enjoying the video set, and we're not getting loud, and we're not getting real frustrated. We're keeping our temper down, and we're not saying fuck a lot, but what we are doing is we're getting her done. We're doing it right. We're doing it right. And we're documenting this as a historical restoration due to the fact that it's been in my shop for fucking 8 years. And it's a nightmare. It's a joke. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting pissed off, and now I'm going to turn the camera off because I would like to calm down and get this job done. I'll be back. The trunk was messed up. We got it fixed, guys. We got her fixed. Okay? Let's get her done.